In 1994, three student filmmakers disappeared in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while shooting a documentary about a local legend known as the Blair Witch. 1 year later, their footage was discovered deep inside the forest. What you are about to hear is the terrifying story behind those recordings. This was not just another camping trip. This was the last time anyone ever saw them alive. Long before the three students entered the forest, the town of Burkittsville was already filled with strange stories and dark rumors. For decades, locals spoke about a mysterious supernatural presence living deep within the Black Hills forest. According to old legends, a woman named Ellie Kedward was accused of witchcraft in the late 1700s after several children claimed she had taken their blood during strange rituals. The frightened townspeople dragged her into the freezing woods during winter and abandoned her there to die. But according to the legend, she never truly died. After her disappearance, children from the town began vanishing one by one. Some were later found dead under horrifying circumstances, while others were never seen again. People claimed they could hear whispers in the woods at night. Some said they saw a shadowy woman standing between the trees. Others believed the forest itself was cursed. Over time, the story became known as the legend of the Blair Witch. Most people dismissed it as folklore. But in 1994, three film students decided to uncover the truth. They believed the legend was only a myth. They were wrong. The documentary team consisted of three young students: Heather Donahue, the director of the project, Joshua Leonard, the cameraman, and Michael Williams, the sound operator. Heather was ambitious and determined to create a documentary that would make her famous. She believed the Blair Witch story could become a powerful, independent film. The group began interviewing local residents around Burkittsville. Some townspeople laughed at the legend. Others became visibly uncomfortable whenever the witch was mentioned. One elderly woman claimed she had seen a hairy figure near the river as a child. Another resident spoke about strange noises echoing through the woods at night. But the most disturbing story came from a fisherman named Rustin Parr. According to local history, Parr kidnapped and murdered 7 children in the 1940s. When police finally arrested him, he claimed an invisible old woman from the woods had forced him to commit the murders. The students were fascinated. To them, it sounded like the perfect horror documentary. They packed their cameras, audio equipment, food supplies, and camping gear. Then they entered the Black Hills forest. None of them realized they would never leave. At first, everything seemed normal. The students laughed, joked, and filmed each other while hiking deeper into the woods. Heather remained focused on directing the documentary, constantly recording interviews and landscape shots. The forest was enormous. Tall trees blocked much of the sunlight, creating long, dark shadows across the ground. The deeper they walked, the quieter the environment became. No birds, no insects, only the sound of leaves crunching beneath their feet. The team used a map to navigate towards several locations connected to the Blair Witch legend. They discovered small piles of stones arranged in unusual formations. At first, they treated it like part of the local mythology. But then, strange things started happening. That night, while sleeping inside their tents, they heard snapping branches outside. Footsteps circled around the campsite. Soft laughter echoed through the darkness. The group rushed outside with flashlights, but there was nobody there. Only trees and silence. The next morning, they discovered strange stick symbols hanging from the branches nearby. The symbols looked handmade, like someone was watching them. Josh became nervous. Mike tried to remain calm, but Heather insisted on continuing. She believed this fear would make the documentary more authentic. That decision would change everything. Over the next 2 days, the situation became worse. The students attempted to follow the map, but somehow they kept returning to the same locations repeatedly. No matter which direction they walked, the forest seemed endless. Tension began growing between them. Josh accused Heather of leading them in circles. Mike complained they should turn back immediately. Heather refused to quit. She believed they were simply exhausted and confused. But deep inside, even she was becoming afraid. That night, the sounds returned. This time, louder. Children laughing. Branches cracking. Something moving outside their tents. The noises continued for hours. None of them slept. By morning, the campsite was surrounded by dozens of small stone piles. Someone or something had placed them there during the night. The students panicked. Josh wanted to leave immediately. Mike blamed Heather for getting them lost. Arguments became constant. The psychological pressure pushed everyone to their limits. Josh became strangely quiet. He stopped speaking during long periods of time. His mental state visibly deteriorated. One night, while the group slept inside their tents, Josh suddenly began screaming outside. His screams echoed through the forest. Heather and Mike rushed out with cameras and flashlights. But Josh was gone. Only darkness remained. They called his name for hours. No response. The next morning, they searched desperately through the woods. There was no sign of him. No footprints. No blood. Nothing. Heather blamed herself. Mike tried to stay rational. But both of them were terrified. That night, they heard Josh's voice again, somewhere far away in the forest. He sounded injured, weak, crying for help. The two followed the sounds through the darkness, but every time they got closer, the voice moved farther away. It was as if something was luring them deeper into the woods. Exhausted and horrified. By now, Heather and Mike were completely hopeless. They wandered through the woods endlessly, starving and exhausted. The cameras continued recording everything, not because they wanted to finish the documentary anymore, but because the cameras had become their only connection to reality. That night, Heather recorded a final message directly into the camera, her face covered in tears. She apologized to their families. She admitted everything was her fault. And she confessed she was terrified. It became one of the most famous horror scenes ever recorded. Later that same night, they heard Josh screaming again. Closer this time. The voice seemed to come from somewhere nearby. Heather and Mike followed the sound through the darkness until they discovered an abandoned house hidden deep within the forest. The building looked ancient. Rotting wood covered the walls. Broken windows stared into the darkness like empty eyes. The front door stood open. Inside, the walls were covered with strange handprints and symbols. The screams continued upstairs. When the Blair Witch Project was released, audiences had never seen anything like it before. The film felt disturbingly real. There were no monsters shown on screen, no dramatic music, no jump scares every few seconds. Instead, the horror came from uncertainty, from fear of the unknown. Viewers felt trapped inside the forest alongside the characters. The shaky handheld cameras created the illusion that the footage was genuine. Many people even believed the actors had truly disappeared. The movie became a cultural phenomenon. Made with a tiny budget, it earned hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide. It changed horror cinema forever. And even today, many people still consider it one of the scariest films ever made. Because deep down, The idea of becoming lost in endless dark woods while something unseen watches from the shadows feels terrifyingly possible. To this day, nobody truly knows what happened inside the Black Hills forest. Was there really a witch? Was someone hunting them? Or did fear itself slowly destroy them? The mystery remains unsolved. But one thing is certain: 3 students entered those woods searching for a story, and the forest turned them into one.